We hear about the European Union all the time, right? In the news, it's on debates, regulations, economics. But the real story, the one that really matters, is this incredible tale of transformation. It's about how a continent just torn apart by centuries of war decided to try one of the most ambitious peace projects in all of human history. Just think about that for a second. After the absolute devastation of World War II, that was the question haunting an entire generation of European leaders. Armies hadn't worked. Treaties had been shattered. What on earth could possibly stop that cycle of violence for good? And the idea they came up with was, well, it was kind of brilliant and totally unexpected. Instead of just signing another piece of paper, they decided to literally weave their economies together, to tie them up so tightly that going to war would become not just unthinkable, but practically impossible. All right, so to really get what the EU is today, we have to go back to the beginning, back to the 1950s, when the scars of war were still so fresh, and honestly, the future of Europe was anything but certain. Now, this massive project didn't just happen overnight with everyone on board. Nope, it started small, really small actually, just 6 countries willing to take a huge leap of faith on a totally new idea. And when you see France and Germany on this list, together, that is just remarkable. After being at the very heart of so much conflict for so long, seeing them team up, along with Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg, that was the crucial first step. And let's be super clear about this. This was their core mission. This wasn't about profits. It wasn't about power. The number one goal, written right into the early agreements, was to make absolutely sure that the horrors they had all lived through would never, ever happen again. Okay, so they knew why they had to do this, but how? How were they actually going to pull it off? Let's dig into how this big idea grew into the economic powerhouse we know today. They came up with this really clear step-by-step plan. First things first, you get rid of all those taxes and tariffs that keep countries isolated. Doing that naturally ramps up competition, right? Which forces everyone to get better and innovate. But for that competition to be fair, you need everyone playing by the same rules, common standards. And all of that leads to the ultimate prize, one big unified market. So the single market, it's the absolute economic engine of the EU. It means a business in Italy can sell its stuff in Germany just as easily as it can down the street. It means someone from the Netherlands can go work in France without a mountain of paperwork. It's like erasing the economic borders. But, the project was never just about the money or the trade. Over the decades, this community of nations really started to evolve. It got a new name, a shared currency, and a much deeper political identity. And you can see that whole journey right here. It kicks off as the EEC, the European Economic Community, all about trade. Then you get these major treaties in '92 and 2009 that turn it into a real political union, giving it more power. And then, of course, the timeline also shows its first huge challenge, when the UK decided to head for the exit in 2020. Okay, if there's one moment to remember, it's this. The Maastricht Treaty. This is a total game changer. It's the moment the European Union is officially born, and it's the agreement that laid the tracks for a shared currency, the euro, tying the fates of all these countries even closer together. All right, so that brings us to today. What does this union of nations actually look like now? And what's its role in our crazy interconnected world? Well, from those original 6, the union has grown all the way to 27 member states. And that expansion eastward, bringing in countries that were once behind the Iron Curtain, man, that was huge. It was about fulfilling that original vision of a Europe that is whole and free. But then, in 2020, that seemingly unstoppable expansion hit a wall. For the very first time, a member country, the United Kingdom, chose to leave. It sent shockwaves across the entire continent and, frankly, raised some really tough questions about the Union's future. This slide really breaks down the core logic of the EU in today's world. It's pretty simple, actually. When 27 countries go into a trade negotiation as one single bloc, they have way more power and leverage than any one of them would on their own. It's the simple but powerful idea of strength in numbers. So what's the EU actually doing for its citizens today? Well, it's out there championing democratic values at home and around the world. It's helping create jobs through that free movement of people and seamless trade. And it's still shaping the future of the continent, with countries like Albania and Serbia hoping to join the project someday. And that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? The EU was a brilliant solution to the problem of war between European nations in the 20th century. But can that same structure, that same idea, adapt to face a whole new set of challenges? Things like climate change, the digital revolution, and massive shifts in global power.